During the COVID years, cheap money and panic buying sent just about every neighborhood in Ottawa through the roof, even the ones that had no real business being there. And when the market finally corrects and the music stops, you find out which areas were floating just on hype and which ones actually had good fundamentals and a strong foundation for that higher value underneath them. 3 years later, that correction has not been even across the city of Ottawa. Some neighborhoods held up, others gave back almost all of the gains and then some that they had made over those crazy couple of years. If you're a first-time buyer in Ottawa right now, you need to know which is which before you put in an offer. Today, I'm breaking down 5 neighborhoods I'd tell you to think very carefully about before buying in 2026. And just to be clear, this isn't about trashing these communities. Some of them are great places to live. But buying your first home is a financial decision as well as an emotional one, and I want you going in with your eyes wide open when you make this decision. Let's start with the one that's getting the most media attention, and that is downtown condo units. Byward Market, Centertown, Somerset, those sorts of places. During the boom, investors just piled into this market. Short-term rentals were like printing money, pre-construction felt like a sure bet, and new buildings kept getting approved. The rates went up and the short-term rental rules changed, and all of a sudden that investor demand disappeared almost overnight. But the supply didn't disappear with it. Buildings that broke ground during that boom are still completing and delivering units, although it has started to slow down. All of that product is now sitting on the market competing with each other. Months of inventory downtown are well above balanced market territory. Prices are down significantly from the peak in 2022, and some of these units are sitting for months without even a showing, let alone an offer or a sale. Now, if you're a first-time buyer looking at this might look like an opportunity, and in some cases, you're absolutely right, but it depends on your risk tolerance. And if there's any chance that you need to sell in the next few years after you buy this place, you're buying into a section of the market that still has a massive amount of supply to work through. Until that inventory clears up, price recovery is going to be slow. A well-located unit with a good floor plan in a well-managed and established building is a completely different purchase profile than a 500 square foot box facing the wall of another building with climbing condo fees. Area number 2 is Vanier and Overbrook. Now, Vanier has been up and coming for probably longer than I've been in real estate, and there are real reasons to like the area. It's close to downtown, there's great zoning flexibility, revitalization is happening along Montreal Road, and during the boom, buyers started to price in that future version of Vanier. The one with the finished streetscape, the new restaurants, the young families everywhere. Detached homes that were in the low 400s pre-pandemic shot past 600K. People weren't paying for what Vanier was, they were paying for what they hoped it would become. Now, in a balanced market, buyers stop paying for potential. They start comparing on fundamentals. Schools, streetscape, amenities, what's actually there right now. And when they compare Vanier to established East End neighborhoods with bigger lots and similar prices, a lot of them end up choosing the safer option. Prices in Vanier have given back a huge chunk of those pandemic gains, especially in the detached and semi-detached market. If you love the area and the price makes sense to you for what the neighborhood is today, not what you think it might be in 10 years, it can definitely work. But your financial plan shouldn't be to depend on the revitalization delivering on schedule. If it does, that's a bonus, but don't take it as a sure thing because it's been coming for a long time. Now, number 3 might surprise you a little bit, but it's Riverside South and the Finley Creek area, both genuinely popular suburbs. There's great schools, there's lots of young families, and it's a good community, so why is it on the list? The reason for it is builders and new construction. These are construction-heavy areas with new townhomes and singles still being delivered, although that has slowed down over the last year or two. Every new unit that hits the market is a direct competitor to anybody trying to resell. Put yourself in a buyer's shoes. You can get a brand new townhome with a full warranty, a modern layout, and builder incentives, or a 3-year-old resale down the road at a similar price point. Most people are going to pick the new one unless the resale one is filled with upgrades. That puts real pressure on the resale values, even when the headline numbers for the area still look good and it's a genuinely good community. What I often see in these areas is resale homes taking a little bit longer to move and closing below what sellers expected. Long term, these neighborhoods do have good fundamentals, but if you're buying resale here and there's a chance you'll need to sell within a few years, understand that you're going to be competing with the builders as well. If you're staying here for a longer period of time, buying resale in these neighborhoods is actually a pretty safe bet. Area number 4 is rural properties. Now, during the pandemic, everybody wanted space, and it didn't matter how far away from work that space was, because the assumption, for whatever reason, that everyone was always going to be able to work from home for the foreseeable future. People paid a serious premium for more space, even if it was really far outside of the downtown. Now, of course, that's not how it played out. Offices called people back, gas prices also climbed, and that commute all of a sudden started to matter again. So properties that sold in those days during the boom are now sitting for weeks or months when they would have sold in an instant back in those days. And the gap between what people paid at the peak and what those places are worth today is very significant. The buyer pool for rural properties is a lot smaller than it was, and it's a lot smaller than people think, especially in a flat market like this one. Now, my concern here is for first-time buyers especially. Your first home is the one where your life is most likely going to change in the next few years. Whether you get a new job, a new relationship, or you have a growing family, all of these things that could mean that you need to sell the place on relatively short notice, maybe a little sooner than you expected. Selling a rural property quickly in this market is really difficult. Your buyer pool is limited and your days on market are going to be long. It's also not something you can easily rent out if you were relying on that as a backup option. If you're buying rural, this is generally a long-term lifestyle decision. So if you know what you're getting into or you grew up in the country and you're looking to buy rural, all the power to you. But if you're somebody who's just attracted by the lower prices for the excess space, it might be something you want to second guess. Area number 5, and the last one we're going to cover in this video, is South Keys and Greenboro. Now, this one doesn't get talked about much, but it's one that I think first-time buyers need to have on their radar. The prices in South Keys and Greenboro look pretty attractive. They're more affordable than many places in the city. There's decent transit, it's close to shopping, but there are a couple things going on under the surface that you need to make sure you're aware of before you move forward. The housing stock in this area skews older. You're looking at townhome complexes and condos that are from the 80s and 90s that are reaching that point 20, 30 years where major repairs are going to start showing up. And what that means, especially if you're buying into a condo property, is special assessments, which are unexpected lump sum payments that the condo is going to ask for to make up for these repair costs that they weren't able to plan for. And if you're buying a freehold, this shows up in the form of unexpected maintenance costs. For first-time buyers on a tight budget who are often stretching to get into their first place, those surprise costs can turn a comfortable purchase into a really stressful one fast. The other factor here is demand. The area hasn't seen the renewal or investment that other parts of the city have. The commercial strip along Bank Street, south of Hunt Club, has been struggling with vacancies, turnover, not a lot of energy in the area. When the businesses on the main street are starting to thin out, that tells you that something about the economic health of the area is not quite right. And from a resale perspective, buyers in this price range have a lot of options. They can look at newer stock in the South End, comparable prices in the East End with more upside, and a lot of them do decide to do that rather than go to South Keys and Greenboro. The listings in this area tend to sit for just a little bit longer, and they can appreciate a little bit slower than other areas at similar prices. Now, if you're buying here, make sure that the building is well managed or the home has been properly maintained. Now, the caveat here is investment is not the only reason you're buying a place. If you like the neighborhood, if you know people in the area, or you just want to live in that part of town, it's often worth buying in these places if you're going to stay for a longer period of time. And I don't just want to leave you with a list of places that you need to avoid. And none of these places need to be avoided. You just got to have your eyes open when you're going in. But the neighborhoods that held up the best throughout the correction share a few things in common. They're driven by end user demand rather than investors. Families buying to live in, not people looking to flip properties or rent them out. They have established schools, amenities, and stable communities. Think of areas like Barrhaven, Canada, parts of Orleans, Westboro, the Glebe. These areas held their value because the demand wasn't coming from hype, it was coming from good underlying fundamentals. Now, in the next week or two, I'm going to be doing a video breaking down some of the most promising and underrated neighborhoods in Ottawa, so keep an eye out for that. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.